In Portuguese, all nouns are either masculine or feminine. Generally, nouns end in O if they're masculine and R if they're feminine. Pro tip: we use if the word is masculine and uma if the word is feminine. In English, you pretty much always need to use words like I, he, she before a verb. But in Portuguese, you can say you sou uma mala, or you can drop that you and just say sou uma mala. Let's get definitive. You use O for masculine and A for feminine nouns to say they. Remember, in Portuguese means the. Don't get confused. Let's learn a bit more about how verbs change in Portuguese. If you are using ele, ela, or você, and the verb ends in like escrever and comer, you only need to get rid of the final R. You generally use você when you're talking directly to another person. This is a polite way to say you in most situations. In some places, you might also hear too. We'll talk a little more about this later on. Good manners are important. To thank people, use obrigado if you are a man or a boy, and obrigado if you are a woman or a girl. To reply, anyone can just say de nada. Another way to say thanks is valeu. Anyone can use that, but generally it's pretty casual. To say don't or doesn't in Portuguese, you only need to use now before the verb. Remember you say you bebo and ela bebe to show who you are talking about. Other verbs that end in a, like comer and fervor, change the same way. And here's the good news. Most verbs that end in ir, like pedir, follow the same pattern as our verbs. Did you notice that pedir has an additional change? In the U form, the D becomes C. Now let's sew the last type of verbs. Those that end in R, like cozinhar, cortar, and fritar. Asking questions in Portuguese is easy. Just take a statement and pronounce it as a question by lifting your voice at the end. Did you notice that it doesn't exist in Portuguese? You can say ela e, or simply e. In English, we usually just add an S to a word to make it plural, like girl becomes girls. It's the same in Portuguese, but here's a twist. You also add S to O and A. And did you notice? If a word ends with a consonant, like muller, you'll need to add es to make it plural. Take note, though, a few words change a bit more. If a word ends in M, the plural ends in NS. For words ending in L, the plural ends in is. There are a few ways of saying you in Portuguese. Two of these are tu and você. Portugal is the main place you will hear tu. In Brazil, you'll hear a mix of both tu and você, depending on where you are. Also, in Brazilian Portuguese it's common to use tu with the você verb form as in tu-a. Here's how to use comer with both of them. As you can see, the verb that follows tu ends in s, and the one that follows você doesn't. You can use nós or a gente to say we in Portuguese. A gente literally means the people. It's the one you'll hear the most in Brazil. Did you notice? A gente uses the same verb form as ele, ela, and você. Unlike in English, adjectives in Portuguese usually come after the noun they're describing. In Portuguese, Words like my and our change their form depending on the noun they're referring to. You can also use o, os, and as before words like my or our. The words Sue and sewer can mean a lot of things. Your, his, her, or their. Notice that Sue gets used with masculine nouns, while sewer gets used with feminine. Since Sue and sewer can translate to your, his, her, or their. Some native speakers prefer to say teu and chewer, which also mean your. That's less confusing. Sometimes verbs get extra little words, like when you're specifying who you're talking about or thinking of. But English and Portuguese don't always use these extra little words in the exact same places. That's what happens with gostar and precisar. Sometimes in Portuguese, words will get smooshed together into one. For example, do gets combined with forms of the d plus o, do de plus a, da de plus os, dos de plus as, das. Keep in mind that when you use the plural, everything must match. You might have noticed little wavy marks on some letters in Portuguese, like in A. This mark over a letter means you need to speak it through your nose. As ung in sung, but a little stronger and nasal. Sometimes you want to ask a question that doesn't have a simple sim or now answer. You can also move oku to the end of the question. Pro tip: when que comes at the end of a question, it gets a little mark above the e. A few verbs in Portuguese don't have a form for you. There's no real reason for it. It's just not there. One example of this is colorir. So you can't ever say I color in Portuguese. You'll have to use a different form that means I'm coloring. The first two numbers in Portuguese, and doi, change to match the gender of what you are counting. Some Portuguese verbs can be extra tricky and change a lot in all forms. Here's another special verb that changes a lot in all its forms.